everyone. I thought I'd share with you today the insides of my watercolor lettering book and how to get started in a few simple steps. Now, I know there's a lot of information here. It can look overwhelming to a lot of you, but I want to break it down and show you just how easy it is. So at the beginning, you're going to learn all about watercolor. You can read about what you need to get started. And then what I thought I'd share with you is the last chapter, just like my previous book, has some trace and learn sheets. So there's a variety of alphabets. There's not just a script alphabet, and there's also some words and phrases and a few projects for you to work on in the back. So today I thought I'd show you how to take one of these alphabets and work on your skills. So let's start with the retro alphabet. The retro alphabet is pretty straightforward, but it does have some thick and thin lines. So what you're going to do is it's perforated. So you're going to remove the paper or the page from your book. And what I recommend is you actually do give it a fold and then you tear it out gently. So you can use this paper, it's single-sided, but don't paint on it. I mean, you can practice on regular paper. We'll get to that. So first step is take the practice sheet out of your book. The next step is, of course, to get your supplies. You need a brush. A fine or medium water brush will do, or around 2 or 3 paintbrush, and it has to be nice and flexible and have a good point on it. You need some liquid watercolor is best, as you will learn in the book, and I'm going to just use this right out of the bottle because my brush is clean and I won't contaminate it. Then I do have some water, which I probably won't need for this exercise. I just have a sample of alphabets that I wanted to share with you that are painted after using the book on watercolor paper. I'll set those aside. So we have our sheet, we have our tools. The other thing I want you to use is just a piece of regular paper that I'm using my grid paper Kelly creates. But you can use graph paper or line paper, any paper that is line. And this isn't watercolor paper. This is regular practice paper. Next, you also need some tracing paper to put right on top of this sheet. And I have the Kelly Creates Imagine paper pad. All of this is available in my online store. So I will be placing this on top of that sheet. And then last, I do have a piece of watercolor paper to practice on. Now, when you're practicing, it's not a project. I do recommend just getting a cheap version of any kind of watercolor paper that will be fine to practice with. Now, you can actually use removable tape and tape down your tracing paper right on top of here. I don't have it with me, and I'm going to zoom in like this. And the other thing you can do is you can move your tracing paper around to maximize the use of the paper so that you are not just painting the center. So I'm going to move mine a little bit, and now I'll just actually zoom out again. I'm going to take my liquid watercolors and I'm going to open it up. And it's good to have a piece of paper towel nearby, which of course I don't have right now. And I am going to just get this paper set up. And now I'm going to dip. I want to make sure this is on the screen. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to dip my brush in here and make sure it's fully loaded with the watercolor paint. And you can see I tapped it on the side. You can, offload. You don't want it dripping wet. And now we are going to work on our letters. So the letter A for the retro alphabet has 2 parts. I'm going to start here and I'm going to go up and I'm going to push and release pressure on the brush and stop there. And then I'm going to dip my pen again and I'm going to start at the top of the A and push down and release and exit. So I am doing 2 complete strokes for the letter A. I don't stop and start, and I try not to fix up my mistakes, but you definitely can fix mistakes with watercolor if you do it fairly quickly. Now for the B. When you're working on tracing paper, you will find you don't need a lot of paint. So I'm going to start at the B, and I'm going to lighten up at the bottom, and then I'm going to go to the top and push and come in and stop and push and come back in again like this. So you can look to see, do you need to fix anything or not? But in general, your goal with the alphabets is not to have to go back and fix up, to execute nice strokes. And you can see I have a bit of a smudge at the top, so I will go back and fix this one. Just execute in one stroke so you don't have to fix. I'm going to dip again and work on the D. Now your dipping into the paint will change with the watercolor paper because the watercolor paper will accept more of the liquid. Now, I'm not going to paint the whole alphabet, but you get the idea. I stop in between the strokes like this, and then I do the horizontal strokes, and let's do the F. I'm going to get this into the light, move my paper. The light here right now, it's winter in Canada, so the light isn't that great. And you can see I put more pressure at the top of the stroke. That's how this alphabet is designed, and it is narrower at the base. And then I go across and across, and then I have the letters. Now, your first step is tracing. What I'd like to emphasize, though, is that you should actually work on individual letters as well. So you can try the whole alphabet like this, but it's a really good idea to focus on single letters instead of the whole alphabet. Now, so those of you who've seen my other videos will know this. So I am going to dip back into my paint here, and I'm going to do another A like this. And then that part. Okay. Now I'm going to, instead of doing the B, I'm going to slide over my tracing paper, hold it down, and practice another A. So here is the main part of the A. Actually, I think I did it the reverse for the first time. Sorry about that. And the second part of the A. And what do I do now? I'm going to slide my tracing paper over, and in this way you get repetitive practice of the letters instead of trying them all at once. This will be much better for your memory in terms of muscle memory, in terms of remembering how each letter is executed. So after working on A all day long, or for a few days or however long, then I will go on to painting the next letter. And you can do this for every single worksheet, okay? So try not to be overwhelmed with the entire alphabet. Work on a single letter at a time, just like this. Now, what is your next step? Your next step is to go to your practice paper. So remember that grid paper I had, or any line paper, and you want to keep your letters the same size. So I'm going to look here, and I can see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares high. So I'm going to just mark that with my pencil just so I remember, because there's no point in you painting letters and practicing and then changing up the size. So many people do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that defeats the whole purpose of your muscle memory. So I'm going to, I'll get this on camera, dip into my paint just like this. Okay, and I'm going to draw my A like that. And this is just regular paper. And I'm not going to be doing the alphabet. I am going to continue to practice my letter A. And I do kind of want them to be almost exactly the same, but they don't have to be. That's the beauty of watercolor lettering. When you are writing a word with any kind of an alphabet and you're using watercolor, you will find that all the colors make everything so pretty that when the completed piece is done with your lettering, you will not see imperfections or inconsistencies. And you know the beauty of any art form is to just enjoy it and relax. So this is step 2, is moving from the tracing paper to the practice paper, not the watercolor paper. And that, in this way, you're actually going to save a lot of money because you won't be practicing completely on watercolor paper all the time. Now, we've practiced a lot on our tracing paper, on our practice paper. Now we are going to take our watercolor paper, that's step 3, and you are going to draw lines that are the same size as the what you were practicing with. Now suddenly I can't find my ruler. I'm just going to use a piece of paper to draw lines. I do this all the time. Okay, but a ruler is best. So let's say I have my pencil here. I'm just going to move this. And I do want to shoot for the same size. And you can always change up the size, but when you're practicing, when you're learning the skills, you do want to be consistent for that muscle memory. So let me just check. I think that's pretty close. Okay. And then I just moved it. So I'll do this. Okay. Now comes the skill. The watercolor paper will help you learn how often to dip your brush. And usually on the watercolor paper, depending on your climate, your humidity, it is once every stroke. So first I'll do this part of the A, up, push down, release and exit. And the second part, push, release and exit. And there's my retro A that I've been practicing. So you will work with your lines like this. And I have seen a lot of people, you can see I didn't dip and I got dry here. So to avoid that, you want to make sure you dip. So let's dip, okay? And then we're going to draw our A. So one thing you want to make sure is that you are dedicating this time to every single letter so that you can improve when you're doing your watercolor lettering. Otherwise, you might get frustrated and overwhelmed. So I hope this gives you a really good idea. Oops, I'm going to dip again on the simple steps you need to take. 3 simple steps you need to take to get really proficient at your watercolor lettering. I'll have more upcoming videos, and I hope you enjoy learning along with me. Thanks for watching.